on behalf of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight. Welcome to So You Want to Be the Chief, a podcast for leaders.
Man, today is a great day because I have one of my former colleagues with me. She was my teammate for I don't know how long or when, whatever, up on the hill at the Air Force Academy when we did Vector for the freshmen, the 4 degrees. And I don't know about you, and she is Senior Master Sergeant Mealinda Koory. I don't know about you, Senior, but I had a lot of fun in those days.
I loved my time at the Academy. Very beneficial for me and hopefully for my cadets.
Hopefully, we never know.
Sometimes we do. I've got a couple who keep in contact and reach out and we chat, and I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm on social media probably more than I should be, but I stay connected with them that way. You know, what's really interesting, exciting, but kind of, I'm not sure I like it, is that a lot of those youngsters are now turning into lieutenant colonels. I had one just a couple of days ago who became a lieutenant colonel. And I'm thinking, whoa, what happened to that 4 degree just yesterday? You know, we were eating Chick-fil-A just yesterday, and now you're a lieutenant colonel. So we end with kids and a family and all that kind of stuff. So it's I guess it's the normal evolution of people. But
it is.
But anyway, you're a senior master sergeant. Congratulations! I told you hang with the chief, you'll get promoted. Because when we were
you weren't
together,
wrong.
you know, you were. I think you were a master then, right? When we worked
I
together.
was.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and a reservist as far as the military is concerned. Now, in that reservism, I just made up a word, I think, but is a little bit different than active duty in that, and you all are, some of you are like full-time reservists, some are part-time, and I don't know how, if there are any other categories. Now, right now, you are a part-time reservist. Is that
I
correct?
am.
Okay.
I am, Chief. Yep.
And that means you serve on the weekends and then 2 weeks during the summer or something like that.
You know, in theory, Chief, that is, but I was at my civilian job yesterday fielding calls for my Air Force time. So, in theory, a reservist is 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, but in reality, we work a lot. Yeah.
But you get extra pay for that, you know, a time and a half, because it's beyond normal duty hours and all that.
Just like active duty, Chief, just like active duty
Yeah,
does.
yeah, right. It doesn't work out that way, does it? Well,
No.
thank you. And I was honored that I got to talk to your fellow reservists, and I think they were all senior NCOs a few weeks ago. And thanks for the opportunity to do that, because I love all of y'all. It doesn't matter to me. You know, you wear a uniform, even if you don't wear a uniform, I still love you. And but that crew seemed to be a lot of fun. I didn't get to invest a lot of time with y'all, but and I think you're inviting me to come speak to your particular group sometime in October, November, something like that, which I would love to do that. So
Yes.
but anyway, so what is your AFSE, your job? You've had several different jobs, I think,
I
right?
have. This is my third AFSC that I'm in now. I started out my first 20 years as a 1 Charlie 6 space operator. I came to the academy and did a special duty there for, I think it's 8 Bravo. And now I'm a 4AO. So I am a health administration technician. And really, Chief, I say that, but as a senior master sergeant, I don't do the day-to-day technical job. So
okay, so you're more into leading and managing and herding cats and all that kind of stuff.
yes,
But in the medical
mentoring.
career, yeah, in the medical career field, more or less.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Now, and you said first 20 years. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been in 23 and a half years now.
Okay, all right. Now, and again, your retirement system is a little bit different. So, do you go 20 years and then you can retire, or you can go longer, or you have to go longer? How does that work?
I can retire at 20 just like active duty. I just wouldn't get my pay right away. So for every year of, or every period of time that a reservist does of active duty, we can take that time off of the age we can collect retirement, with the maximum age. The earliest age we can collect is at 55. So if I wanted to retire now, I could collect when I turn 55, which is still a ways away. But I was just chatting with another Master Sergeant this morning about my ETS is up in January, and I could retire. I could very easily retire. My unit has a deployment bucket opening in October. We've been told we're going, that there's no question about it. There are a lot of reasons that I could retire in January. But I love serving, and this is what I was talking with my Master Sergeant about. I love my Air Force. I love my country. But more importantly, at this point in time, I love my airmen. And I choose not to retire still because I had good leaders who paved the way and helped guide and mentor me, and it's my turn to pay that back to me.
Yes, very good, very good. Well, for those of especially new listeners who are just listening to the podcast for the first time, although this is for I'll say for chiefs, it's mostly kind of about chiefs too. And the reason I'm inviting what potential chiefs is because I want to. I think it's by the time you become a chief, maybe it's too late to learn to be a chief. You got to learn it sooner than that, and that makes sense. And exactly what you said, we train people, we prepare people so that when it's time, they're ready. Back in my day, I made chief in 1991. There was no 20, it was 19. And but I was prepared. I was trained by a bunch of chiefs at Maxwell Air Force Base, the place for PME and all.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
so those old chiefs are not old at the time, but they took care of me. They taught me a lot of stuff that, and I even remember some things that I said, no, I'm not doing that. And they said, yeah, you are. And I did, and I'm glad I did. They forced me to do it. So, but I was ready. So anyway, for the new listeners, I invite folks who are, again, potential chiefs to get their perspective, because you have seen some. I mean, you've seen this one, although we've only known each other since I was retired. But I still try to be a chief, at least. I have a haircut. I don't shave, or I shave and all that stuff, which nowadays I guess you don't have to shave. But anyway, so when we got to talking about doing the show, I asked you what things, especially from the book, do you think are important for a chief to do from your perspective? And I hope that you will do when you become a chief. Now, in the chief, becoming a chief in the reserves is different, right? Do you test for that?
You don't test chief, but I would almost say it's more challenging to become a chief, to promote in general in the reserves. The old saying was you had to wait till somebody died.
Right.
That's partly true. We don't, just like active duty, if there's not an open spot, you can't promote. But in the reserves, and one of your lessons in your book was networking, in the reserves, you really have to prove your worth and know people. The honest answer with that is you have to do both of those things.
Yeah.
In order to promote.
Yeah. So is networking one of the lessons in the book that you kind of related to?
Absolutely. And I see in my airmen, my new airmen especially, that networking is more challenging for them. I feel, I'm going to be that old crusty who says back in my day, but we were a lot more socially integrated when I first joined. And now when we have forced morale or mandatory fun, or even just, hey, you guys want to go grab a burger for lunch? A lot of my airmen prefer to stay in the office, either alone or with one other person, and not get out there. And so when I was reading your book, and I actually had read the chapter first, the second lesson, where you talked about one of your chiefs had a deployed airman's spouse who didn't have any heat, and the chief called up CE. I was like, networking. But then I got to the third lesson, which was networking. So it worked out. Yes, networking is so important. Yeah. So important. I had a tech sergeant who a few months ago had the opportunity to go to DC for a conference. I think it was the Women in the Military type of conference. And before that, we take walks, maybe once a month we walk together so that we can catch up and I can hear what's going on and offer some insight or just listen and do the things that I should be doing. And before that, she's very much, this tech sergeant was not understanding, I guess, of my mentorship, which I didn't know. But after she came back from this conference, she said, "Ma'am, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership style. And thank you for encouraging me to go." Because she met these other women in the military. But more importantly than meeting them is she heard their perspectives and she heard their opportunities and the struggles that they're having. And so through that opportunity to network, she got encouragement, she got support, she got that feeling of, oh, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. And then moving forward, she has connections now. When she's done with this assignment, she can move forward and she can say, you know what? I remember that person I talked to at that conference and they loved their job and their unit and their mission. Let me reach out and see if there's an opportunity there. So networking by far, yes.
And that's when I wrote that chapter, as I recall, I was kind of hesitant because I didn't want to be perpetuating or seem to be perpetuating what we used to call the good old boy network, where, you know, that was, and I guess it still is a fairly negative term, or it's not necessarily a positive term, because the good old network was that people would do uh, possibly illegal, maybe not morally right things just to take care of each other. You know, I guess you could call it politics if you want, because that seems to be what happens anymore. But networking is a little bit different in that it is about the C word, we just used it, connection, connecting with people. And the more connections you have, the better you'll be able to take care of the people, like you say, your airmen, in ways that probably you can't, or you don't know how you can. Kind of like that story that you mentioned about the heat. You know, I would have never known that if that a wife had not called me, and I would never have been able to do anything, because I remember Steve. I can't remember his last name, Chief Steve over at CE. I immediately called him and he said, "Hey, Bob, I'll handle it." And that's how we do it, you know. And that's networking, not in a negative way. And again, I think we realize, and maybe, and nowadays, I guess, senior, I mean, we are connected. I don't know that you can be unconnected anymore. You know, I feel like you know Simon Sinek, and I think you may have met him when we were at the academy. But he and I, we were at Arnold Hall, and Tina Erzin was sitting with us, and he was observing people at another table, our next table. All of them were on their phones. None of them, and there were 4 or 5 people. None of them was talking to each other. And he said, you know, isn't that sad that these people are here, especially at NCLS, to connect, and they're not? Well, probably they were connecting somewhere else, but that's neither here nor there. So I made a commitment to him. I said, you know what, you're right, exactly right. And I do this when Deb and I are gone, because, you know, I have to be connected just in case the president calls me. You know, I got to take that call, you know.
Important calls, yes.
Yeah, no one has called me yet, but anyway, I'm waiting. But anyway, and I made a commitment to him. I said, I will never take my phone with me when I'm with Deb for dinner, or unless it's business, for dinner or lunch or whatever. And to this day, and that was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I still don't. However, I feel guilty about it, because I'm afraid that, and, you know, I don't work, I have a job anymore. So if people want to connect with me, they can, they will, via social media or email or whatever. But my daughters, I have 2 daughters who have kids, and so I have a bunch of 6 grandkids, and I always worry that, and I don't say worry, but I don't want to miss a call from them. If something happens, that I got to take a call from them. So, and usually what I do is I tell them I'm off the grid, but Oma's got her phone, so you call her if you need to. And she's good. Deb does not pick up her phone just for nothing, you know, like I do. So, but so we're more connected in a way, but maybe not the way we should be, you know. And that's, I think, if there's a better lesson from the chapter on networking, make sure that you do it correctly at the right time. And, you know, I know you have I think 3 children, if I'm not mistaken.
I do, yeah.
So you have a family, and I always hear on, especially on social media, or it doesn't matter. People are concerned about how to balance work and family. Well, it's a choice. You know, you can put that phone away. You don't have to carry it. And that's difficult for some people. I know, because I've known some people, in fact, you and I know some people, we have some mutual friends who carry 2 or 3 phones. It's like, whoa, I guess you can multitask. I don't do that. I have a hard enough time just answering one phone. I can't figure out where the button is. Which one? Wait a minute. Which one is this?
But you talk about that, Chief. You talk about that in your book. One of the other lessons further along the book is learning to say no, and your focus and that balance. Exactly what you're talking about is that balance and learning to say no. And that can be really hard. Our Air Force doesn't historically, or hasn't historically, supported the balance. It's better now. It absolutely is better now, 100% better. We have realized that when our airmen can't take care of what they need to take care of, big A airmen can't take care of what they need to take care of in their personal lives, they can't focus on their profession of arms life, right? They can't focus on their professional military life. And so learning to say no. The work, I tell my airmen these days, the work will always be there tomorrow. It will. It will always be there tomorrow. There will always be something that catches fire tomorrow and needs your immediate attention. So if you have something you have to take care of that takes care of you or your family, take care of it. You're a good airman, big A. You're a good big A airman. You take care of your job. You do your job. You're not a slacker. You're not a dirtbag airman. When you need, I trust in you. When you need to say no and take care of something on your private side, do so. And that's a balance for sure. It's a hard lesson too.
It is, and I think especially as a person is becoming the top person, the top enlisted person, a chief, you first have to realize that and then understand it, and then you have to support it, because we all say we're going to do that, and sometimes we don't, And I was an airman for a little while, and I remember I don't think I was afraid to ask the chief to let me off to go do something more important, to tell them about the family and all that kind of. I wasn't afraid. It's just that a lot of times I thought that they don't care, which is maybe that whether that was true or not was beside the point. But I thought that they didn't care because they didn't seem to care. So I think if whether you're a senior master sergeant, a master sergeant, any kind of leader, you need to show people that you care, and to be open-minded to accept that information. That I'll call it feedback. If an airman has issues that he or she needs to take care of, help them. But sometimes, well, let me tell you a story. I was in Germany. I was in family support. I was a deputy director, and I was working on my master's degree, and the education office was right above where, in the same building that I worked. And there was this young lady, Heidi Kennedy, wonderful young lady, civilian, that ran the program. So one day I came in civies, and because I was on leave, and I was being silly, and I went upstairs to ask her first about something about classes or something, and I told her, whether the chief is on leave or not. She said no. She was kind of a fairly serious person, and she said, no. How do you know? When I'm here in civies. And I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of funny, Yeah, the chief is in civies. He must be on leave. And she took me to task. She says, "But what are you teaching your airmen?" Whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to get serious about this, but there was a serious question, and then we got to talking. She says, "You're teaching your airmen that they should take leave and come to work in civilian clothes." Wait a minute. Thank you very much, Heidi. See you next week. Because I didn't have a reply for that, because that's exactly what I was doing, Senior. I was telling them, hey, because and that, and it's in the book, they're always watching. Everybody below, everyone is watching you, how what you say, and how that, if that's congruent with what you do. And a lot of times it's not. And I think that sometimes what we do as leaders, we tell our followers, take the time, take care of yourself, take care of your family, blah blah blah, but then we expect them to be at work, and that doesn't work. We're going to do what the chief does, not what the chief says, because I'm watching him, and he's there 8-10 hours a day and all that kind of stuff. But we don't want them to do that, so we got to model those right lessons, I think.
Absolutely. But at the same time, not the old one, oh, you're the chief, he's out, he's got a 12:30 tea time, right? it is a balance for sure. And modeling is absolutely correct, but finding that balance of modeling, I will say at this level, at the senior level, I have tasks that I can't accomplish in one weekend, and I do work outside of my one weekend a month. But if I don't do that, my airmen aren't taken care of. So there's a visible balance, and there's the visible message that I'm sending. And then there's also that hidden message that gets sent where, hey, ma'am, when did you do that? Oh, don't worry about it. I just took an hour out of my day, right? And as a reservist, I personally don't put in for, I could put in for points or I could put in for pay for my hour that I worked, right? But I don't because I've committed to serving my airmen. However, like you just said, what message does that send to them? That one's a real struggle. That one is a real true struggle. I'll be honest, part of it is sometimes it's a hassle to do the paperwork to get my point or my pay, right? And it really only took me an hour to do the job. So it takes me 30 minutes to do the paperwork or the process, and it takes me an hour to do the job. Well, I'd rather just do the job and get it done and know my airmen are taken care of than worrying about something else. But at the same time, when I convey that message to my airmen, especially as a reservist, I want them to get those points or that extra pay, right? My airmen, especially my young airmen, they really do rely on their reserve time, their weekend to supplement their professional or personal civilian income. So if I send the message, hey, I'd like you to do an hour of work, but not put in for points or pay, you're right. It's not. I am doing exactly what Heidi said when you're coming into work in the civies and delivering that message. So thank you for that, because I'll have to do a better job balancing that one coming forward.
Yeah. Well, and again, we are talking about the B word, the balance. If you do it too much, anything
then you're not
out
in
of balance,
balance. So
you're
it's
right.
not, yeah.
Yeah. So you got to be careful, and for the purpose, like you say, if your purpose is to take care of your airmen, well, you can probably fudge on that if we call it fudging, because it's more important. But here's the thing with a lot of times, I think people have a different maybe a skewed perspective on balance, senior. And that's that we think of balance as the scales of justice. You've seen that picture where it's 50-50. You know, it's a scale and it's 50-50. Well, life isn't that way. It's never that way. You know, I think of it more as like being on a balance beam. If you've ever been on one, you know, you're going teetering this way and teetering that way just to stay on the beam, you know, and it depends on what, you know, I guess where your body moves or shifts or whatever. So sometimes you do more, sometimes you do less, and especially with families and work. Sometimes, and here's the thing: I think with families, when you're with family, be with family. You know, don't carry that phone with you. And yeah, I'm kind of with you, but I'm waiting for that phone call. No, 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 no. If you can, put the phone away. But that's what I was telling, what I promised Simon I would do. And this is what I practice this with Deb. I'm here with you. Anything else? And you know, sometimes I'm a popular guy when I owe people money, and they'll come up to me at a restaurant and say, "Hey, Chief, how you doing?" And my first question is, "Do I owe you money?" And sometimes it's yes. But anyway, you know, if people come up to us somewhere, I say hello and I try to get away from that as quickly as possible because I'm not here to do that. I'm here to be with my wife. And again, you have to do that. You have to choose to do that, and you can. But you know, I often see people. Well, I'm taking my kids to the shop. Well, that's okay if they're going to go learn something. You know, it's exciting, it's interesting, whatever. But if you're taking them with you every day because you don't want to spend time with them, maybe there's an issue there. You should think about that. So, and you know what? As I mentioned, we're all being watched. Our kids are really watching us. They are,
Yes,
you
they
know,
are, Chief.
I remember one time I asked Nieves, so you remember Nieves, my granddaughter, my oldest
Mm-hmm.
granddaughter, because she used to come around and she did something. And I asked her, Nieves, why do you do that? And she looks at me with kind of a perplexed look and she says, Opa, because you do. Oh boy. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to be careful. And again, you know, we're modeling it to our kids. So, and most of us love our kids. I think all of us do. I hope all of us do. But when it's time to be with them, be with them. When it's time to be at work, be at work. And that'll be better. It's not always going to be great, but it'll be better.
You
So
talk
let's say,
about that, Chief, actually. You talk about that in your book. And this is one of the ones where I would like to go back and reread that chapter, but work defines us. And for a very long time, work does define us, or we allow work to define us, but we shouldn't. There will always be another airman ready to come do the job, right? There will always be somebody. I am replaceable. We are all replaceable, and we should not be defined by how we make our money or what we do. We should have that innate sense. And a lot of times that's a really hard lesson to learn, right? I say innate, but for a lot of people, and I see this in airmen, they join because maybe they floundered. They went to a year of college and they weren't successful. And so they kind of lost their way. And so they joined. So they didn't know what else to do, right? And now they have this purpose and this mission, which is awesome. But as a chief or as a senior right now, my goal is to help them also figure out who they are inside. Because at some point in time, I'm struggling with this right now, right? I'm 23 years, I can retire anytime. I'm not ready to retire, but, and you talk about this as well, you have to get out of the way. I have to get out of the way for my airmen. So at some point in time, they can grow and promote and then bring up the airmen behind them. So the two things I think then together from your book are work should not define who we are. It really shouldn't. And at some point in time, you have to get out of the way. I have to get out of the way. The chief has to get out of the way. Whomever has to get out of the way, because our purpose in bringing those airmen up behind us, we can only do it for so long. At some point in time, we have to cut the cord and let them go. And in order to do that, we have to move and get out of their way.
And I think because that is difficult, and I think you know that is difficult for me because but I shifted my my purpose to not so much doing it, but to some people call it consulting, to mentoring, to coaching others to reach their potential, which is a different perspective. And I love it because, like, I have a lot of folks that will get in touch with me. Chief, how do I do this? Well, I don't know how you do it anymore because it's different. But let me give you what perspective, my experience, and you can do, or we can talk about that. So I really enjoy that. That's been a lot of fun in the last couple of years that I've been retired. But yeah, one of the I'm not pitching this, but I'm pitching this. January is my goal to have this new book that I'm working on called Finding Me, because I see on a lot on social media people wondering, how do I find my identity? Well, in fact, we did it in Vector. What I'm writing is really a book about Vector, the things that we talked about: values, purpose, vision, and influence. Those are the 4 pillars, if you will, for discovering your identity. But nonetheless, a lot of people are trying to search or are searching for that. Well, and it's there. You got to rediscover it. It's there. Maybe you haven't thought about it, and you got to dig deep and realize that, oh yeah, I've always done this. Well, yeah, you've always had it. You have an identity. But anyway, that's one of the things I think people are looking for. And you're right. It's not the work, the job really is, and there's a difference. I should have probably used the job. The job is what eventually can define you. The work is a little bit different. I may have told you, I retired from the job so that I could do my work, which is this: helping others, guiding others, whatever the people need me to do. But I hope that that's all based on my character. So where is it? Well, January on Amazon.com.
Good pitch, Chief. Good pitch.
Great price. There's a great price for you. My kids need braces, and I got to pay for that somehow, Senior. Retirement doesn't pay a whole heck of a lot. Anyway, well, I know you're a great person. I know you care a lot about your airmen. I look forward to working more with you in the next few months at least. And I wish you all the luck when when you do make chief, you know, you'll be able to tell, yeah, Chief Vasquez already thanked me, already congratulated me. So,
Well,
'cause
Chief, I wouldn't be here as a senior today without you. So thank you. I know I still owe you a chicken sandwich.
you
I
do.
haven't
Yes, you
forgotten.
do. Do not forget that.
I do owe you. It's been 2 years now. But thank you. I came to you and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't want to go back to space. I don't want to retire. I've got this opportunity to be in an area that I actually truly enjoy. I love medicine. I'm a nurse on the civilian side, and it's what I enjoy. So I have this opportunity to combine both my civilian love and my military love. But I'm scared to take that leap, right? I was going to be away from my family for 2 months for school, and oh my gosh, after 20 years as a space operator, I'm going to change career fields. So thank you. Thank you for your mentorship and your guidance and your advice. And I have not forgotten the chicken sandwich.
All right. All right. Well, I will hold you to that because I love chicken sandwiches. Chick-fil-A. I don't need
Yes,
anybody else's
absolutely.
just Chick-fil-A.
There is no one else, is there?
Yeah, there isn't. Well, you take care of yourself, take care of your family, because I know that's important, and take care of those airmen, and we'll meet up at Chick-fil-A soon.
I love it. Thank you,
All right.
Chief.
God bless you.
You too.